What's up everyone and welcome back to Reload Reacts episode 50! My name is Trey and today we are going to look through r/AmITheButthole, the subreddit to find out if you were in the wrong for the argument that's kept you up at night. This first post is by KindYesterday3237. Am I the butthole for demanding that my niece or her parents pay me back for the hundreds of dollars of perfume she stole from me? I have a perfume collection that I started when I was a teenager slinging burritos as my first job. I have over 400 bottles at this point. I take great pride in my collection and I use it. I'm also happy to give people samples of most of my bottles, let them sample a spray or two, give some bottles as gifts, etc. What I have a huge effing issue with is my 17-year-old niece coming into my home under the disguise of walking my dog, decanting bottles on her own and selling the samples to her little friends. She thinks that because I have so many bottles, I wouldn't notice some missing or getting massive dents in them. Well, little Miss Entrepreneur failed to realize that her private Instagram wasn't friends only or whatever, and I saw each and every effing story with each price and sample she had. I tallied that S up and got a pretty good estimate based on cost per ounce. Thankfully, she mostly picked the TikTok famous perfumes, like Bianco Latte and Escapade Gourmand, and didn't go for the most rare niche perfumes. She did snatch an entire 2.5 ounce bottle, which runs at $300 plus at most retailers, as well as full bottles of perfumes you can get at Sephora. Petty or not, I printed out the entire list of what she'd taken, price estimate, and handed it off to my sister, her mum. I said that I expected to be paid back in full, and of course her effing sneaky little A is never allowed in my home again. My sister got super peed with me, going on about how my niece is just a kid, kids make mistakes, etc. I said yes, kids make mistakes, and this is a great way for my niece to learn from hers. Their argument is that now the money she was going to use for a car has to go towards paying me back. I don't care. She's lucky that I have no interest in involving the police, small claims, or any of that. But am I the butthole because she is a teenager? That's theft. You're not the butthole. She is lucky you're not getting police involved, yeah. The top comment also says, she's just a kid who created a successful business enterprise selling stolen property. Exactly, yeah. That is a great way to learn your lesson. This next post is by WesternBag362. Am I the butthole I told my mother-in-law that's all on her? My 5-year-old son's birthday is coming up, and he wants a chocolate cake with chocolate icing. It's his birthday, so I said yes. My mother-in-law can be so selfish sometimes. My son was telling her how he's getting chocolate cake with chocolate ice cream. My mother-in-law said she didn't like that, and we should get something we all like. My son said, it's not your birthday, so you don't get a say. And yeah, this would normally be disrespectful, but recently said this to my son when he went to his friend's party. When my son didn't like the cake flavour, and we had a discussion about how the birthday person gets to choose their cake flavour because it's their special day. That makes sense. My mother-in-law was shocked and I told her the same thing I told my son. When it's your birthday, you can get whatever flavour of cake you want. My mother-in-law called me a bee and my son a spoilt brat. So I told her, with that attitude, you won't be coming to the party. My husband was WTF and tried to talk me into ordering his mum a cake she would enjoy after our son and I was rude to her. I said no, it isn't her day, and that just teaches our son to act entitled at other people's parties if we don't stick to the rules and etiquette that we explain to him. It will just make him confused, entitled, and spoilt. That's so true. Yeah. I get this. My husband saw the truth in that because our son was excited about his birthday cake for his birthday, and now understands that not everything is about him. Other people get to enjoy their special event how they want to. In return, my son gets to enjoy his special event and occasions how he wants to. My mother-in-law doesn't seem to get that, and wants my son to write her a sorry note and what he did wrong. My husband and I don't feel like my son did anything wrong by repeating what his parents told him. My mother-in-law said she's not coming to the birthday party or getting him a gift without the apology note. I told my mother-in-law that's all on her. It is, yeah. So, yeah, no, you're being a good parent, and your mother-in-law is clearly spoiled. What is up with that? It's your son's birthday. Get him whatever cake you want to get him. If he wants that cake, you get him that cake. Your mother-in-law has no say in this. What's up with that? In saying that, and the top comment says this here, not the butthole, but why is your husband not sticking up for you and your son? He's equally guilty here for that. OP said, my husband didn't know the backstory of why my son said that. He wasn't at his friend's party a few months ago when I took my son aside and talked to him about hating the cake flavor. That is kinda crazy that his mum's calling her a bee and her son a spoilt brat. His son a spoilt brat, yeah, that's crazy. This next post is by BDeep9321. Am I the butthole? Took my license plate off my car. Ooh, okay. Okay, so long story short, I sold my car to a friend of mine after I got a new one for a very low price. It was an old beat up car, so I just wanted to do them a favor. I told them to type up what was needed to transfer the title and we could go to the courthouse or whatever. Just figure it out, right? Wrong. Months go by and I am continuously reminding them to not drive the car until the title is transferred, because it's still in my name at this point, and if something happens, it's on me, right? Wrong. I get ignored and more time passes. My parents get a letter in the mail saying that I have at least 6 parking tickets on that car, and if they aren't paid, I'm getting a warrant. Tickets that have been sitting for months. He paid the tickets. I tell him to stop driving my car for the love of God until he gets it figured out and tells me when and where to go. Crickets. I took the license plate off the car and told him to get it figured out or I would sell it again. He then said he would take me to small claims court, and then a week later told me he no longer wanted the car and that I can come pick it up. Can someone tell me what's going on here? Am I the butthole? No, what? I don't know if that's just poor planning or there's something more sinister going on. Let's see what the comments have to say. Not the butthole, but next time file a release of liability with the DMV. Okay. Not the butthole, I would just go pick it up and sell it to someone else. Taking advantage of a friend's kindness like this is just appalling to me. Yeah, no, you're not the butthole, it doesn't seem like anything sinister's going on, but he's a really bad friend for doing that. Even if it isn't sinister, he still shouldn't be driving that car. You should have kept the plate to begin with, honestly. Not the butthole. This next post is by Voltaire. Am I the butthole for calling out my coworker who jumped the microwave queue? I work in a pretty large office, but in our particular section, we've got one microwave. One. Naturally, there's a bit of a lunch rush, and sometimes you just have to wait your turn. Anyway, I was heating up my lunch and when the microwave beeped, I pulled it out to give it a stir, you know, the cold in the middle struggle. I always pop it back in for another minute just to finish it off. But the moment I took it out to stir, this guy swoops in from the side, whacks his container in, and starts heating his food. For 4 minutes. Didn't ask, didn't check, just claimed the microwave. Now I don't think I've seen him before, pretty sure he's a new starter. But still, microwave etiquette is not exactly niche. I stood there waiting and fuming, and when his 4 minutes were up, he took his food out. I said, "Great, thanks. I can finish heating my lunch now that you're done." He just looked at the ground and slinked off. I figured that was the end of it, but later his manager actually came up to me and said I should be nicer and that I hurt his feelings. Apparently, he felt really bad and embarrassed. I didn't insult him, I just called out the behavior, but now I'm being told I made someone feel bad at their new job. So am I the butthole? Okay, both of you are. So this guy, he could have waited, but also you were the one that chose to stand there. You didn't say anything. You don't know his backstory. You don't know anything about him. You can't assume these things about people. He might not have known. He might have thought you were done and that you were just stirring it, you know? But yeah, you really don't know his situation, especially if he's new. Just let it slide this once. You don't have to comment after standing there in silence. Like, he already did it. Just, yeah, you should have been nicer, but he also should have asked you first if you were done. Here's what the comments have to say. Everyone sucks. He was clearly wrong, but you should have just straight up told him that you weren't finished yet, instead of being passive aggressive to the new guy in the office. Yeah, exactly. My thoughts as well. I don't think OP should have waited the 4 minutes and internally stew about this. The new guy likely didn't realize what he did, zoned out when he saw the free microwave, not realizing that OP was still going to use it, but also, new guy needs to use his words and apologize when his mistake was called out. I can understand feeling how the new guy felt. So I can understand him not saying anything, because he might not have known that he did something wrong, and I'm sure everyone, or a lot of people, can relate to the feeling of feeling really bad when someone comments on something you didn't even know you did wrong. Yes, you can apologize, of course, but sometimes it's not that black and white. Another person says, everyone sucks. It seems like he assumed you were done with the microwave. You didn't speak up and you were stirring your food. He's not a mind reader and your response to him was rude. Yeah, everyone sucks in that situation. This next post is by AloneFold7397. Am I the butthole because I don't bring in my dogs when my neighbor let out their dogs? I27F have 2 very well behaved beagles. They don't bark at anything while they are outside, and actually don't care for the neighbor's dogs and actually ignore them. Maybe I'm looking for validation, as I enjoy sitting on my back patio when it's nice out, and I have my dogs sit outside with me most of the time. Most of my neighbors have dogs that go insane when they see my dogs, barking and snarling and digging at the fence, which has mostly destroyed my fence, but the neighbors are actively replacing said fence. Here is where I feel bad. When I am sitting outside with my dogs, the neighbors' dogs don't get to go, and I feel bad for those dogs not getting to do what they need to do. Am I the butthole? Yeah, I agree with the top comment here. It says, not the butthole, your neighbors need to train their dogs. And it's not your or your dog's fault if they can't. It's not like your dogs are antagonizing theirs. Also, beagles are the best. Haha. Yeah, I totally agree with that. There isn't much more to say to that one actually. This next post is by CandyCat07. Am I the butthole for not letting a random lady into my neighborhood park? Interesting. So I, 18F, my boyfriend, and my sister went to my neighborhood park the other day near my house. The park was just renovated a couple of months ago, and a fence with a locked gate was put up to prevent homeless people and people from the apartment complex across the street from getting in. There are also cameras in the park. The kids in the apartment complex ripped a children's seesaw from the ground right after it was renovated before the fence was put up, and homeless people kept sleeping on the benches and park tables. The HOA provides keycards to all of the residents of the neighborhood after you registered for them and paid for them. Anyways, as we were leaving the park to walk back to my place, an unfamiliar lady pulls up in a car outside the gate and asks to be let in, and claims to have left or misplaced her keycard. But then she immediately contradicts herself and asks how to get the keycards. I explain that I'm not entirely sure, as my parents were the ones to receive the cards, but that I knew that you had to go through the HOA to receive them. She then asks if I could let her in to let her child play. I apologise and tell her that I don't want to risk getting in trouble with the HOA, as I don't know their policies on people without keycards being let in unsupervised. You can have up to 2 guests per keycard. She pushes a little, and I reiterate what I had already told her. She then relents and gets back into her car. The three of us, my sister, boyfriend and I, then leave the park and close the gate behind us. This is when I get a little skeptical. The lady hesitates and watches us leave before I see her leave the parking lot and then turns out of the neighborhood entirely and towards the apartment complex. But still, I can't help feel but a little bad, so am I the butthole? That lady was acting sketchy, man. You're not the butthole for that, she's sketch. In saying that, this was a bit dystopian reading this. The fact that a park is fully locked up and only people with key cards can access the park is kinda crazy. Bit of culture shock reading that one. It isn't like that here very much. Or at all really. That was kinda crazy. Thinking about it now and seeing some of these comments here. Yeah, that was really dystopian. But it is private gated, so not the butthole, I guess. Am I the butthole? But we had a deal. My wife wanted to go to another short summer trip together. But I didn't, since I'd already paid for the other one we're going on with her parents. We agreed that she would pay the trip she wanted, so she ordered it. However, 1 week before that trip, she told me that she couldn't fully pay the trip, since she didn't have enough money and she needed me to pay the rest. Furthermore, that was all her money, so the next month she would be able to contribute to our mutual budget. As a result, I had to pay a part of the trip and pay all of the bills of our family on my own during the next month. I refused because I had some other plans, including some tooth implants for me and saving up for a car I wanted to buy. She got mad at me and doesn't talk to me. Am I the butthole? Yeah, look, I feel like she should have communicated. I'm gonna say not the butthole. The only reason I'd say you might be the butthole is because apparently it says this in the comments that the wife promised their son they would go there together. But he had tooth implants, like that's more important than going on a second short summer trip. So I'm gonna say not the butthole. That's kind of ridiculous. And she should have communicated that, and she did not do that. You guys need to live the same financial lives. If there seems to be a lot of disconnect is what I'm saying there. And I think that's gonna be it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the stories in r/am I the butthole. Let me know what you would like to listen to next in the comment section below. And also hit that subscribe button with your left index finger, because I post new Reddit content every single day. There are 2 videos on the screen, one of which is for the most recent video, and another is for a video the YouTube algorithm thinks you'll want to watch next. My name's Trey, this was Reload Reacts, and I will see you in the next video.